Welcome to Soul Thrive, where we explore spirituality through healing trauma, shadow work, and applying the laws of the universe in order to master ourselves without the fear of the unknown.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Soul Thrive podcast. Today's guest is Andrew Radziewicz, and his story is seriously next level. I'm very excited.
Me too.
So, a little bit about our guest. So, back in 1999, while serving in the U.S. Coast Guard, Andrew had a life-changing UFO encounter that was witnessed by 20 other people. And this event opened the door to a much deeper path that led him to Dr. Stephen Greer and the CE5 method. And I had to Google that. Close encounters of the fifth kind, which is the method of initiating peaceful, conscious contact with extraterrestrial beings through meditation, intention, and group coherence. And then not long after, a psychic medium, Robert Hansen, recognized Andrew's gift and helped him tap into his abilities as a psychic medium. And since then, Andrew's had dozens of peaceful, conscious interactions with UFOs and star beings, and he's on a mission to show the link between UFOs and the afterlife. So I'm very excited about this one. So let's get into it.
Hi, Andrew.
Welcome.
Thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for being here. Before we just chatted a little bit prior, and we talked a little bit about Arcturian and Pleiadian energy. So I'm a Pleiadi, and you work with the Arcturians, if I'm understanding. But we're gonna get into all of that.
Yeah. I want to know about the event. Like,
Yes.
what happened?
So in 1999, right?
Yes.
I'm a kid, a 19-year-old kid. I know that I don't want to really go to college. I don't really want to work. I'm like in that in-between space, but I'm like, I got to do something.
Right.
Can't just sit around and do nothing. So I joined the Coast Guard. Now, prior to that, I was not outside summoning UFOs, nothing like that. This is just like, I'm a regular guy growing up in Floral Park, Long Island, New York. Get a job, go down south. I'm stationed in St. Petersburg, Florida, and our patrol area was the Gulf of Mexico and the Caribbean. So just past America, right there, we would
Right.
do that area, South Florida, that area. So one night, I'm the lone night watchman. So I'm on top of the boat. So on the very top of the boat, my boat was 210 feet long. There was 72 sailors altogether with officers and everything, 72 total, 70 men and 2 women. I remember that exactly because it was like, wow, only two,
Right.
wow, what a big difference. But it was great. We were all a family. It was great. And I was the long night watchman. I'm on top of the boat, and you would get these big old school binoculars, and then like, real old fashioned little ones. And then we had military grade night vision goggles,
Mhm.
two every about 5-10 minutes.
Okay.
You would scan the perimeter of the boat, look in the sky. If you see anything moving, you report it down below, and then we have a radar system that would say, okay, that's a boat, that's the Navy, that's okay. We just want to know what everything is,
Of
obviously for
course. Yep.
safety.
Mhm.
And we are in an area where a lot of migrants are coming in from Cuba, a lot of
Right.
drugs are coming in the country.
Right.
It's dangerous. This
Of
is
course.
1999. This is
Right.
before 9/11. Okay,
Oh,
so
yes.
it was wild. There was a situation with a child named I believe Elon. He was kidnapped down past Florida, and there was some issue with Florida and America and Cuba with this
Mhm.
child and giving him back to Cuba. And Castro was going to unleash the prisoners supposedly into the waters
Wow.
where we were. This is the time when I was
Right.
when this was going on. So a lot going on, right?
Sounds
Russia.
like it. The
Yeah,
pressure is
crazy.
on.
Right, exactly.
Talk
So
about
it's not like,
hypervigilance.
I'm
Damn.
so
yeah.
anxious the whole entire time.
Yeah, exactly. And you're on guard. You're out at
Mhm.
sea. This isn't a cruise boat. Like you're out at sea and it is on. So you're on patrol. You're really hyper observant and vigilant. And all of a sudden, I remember seeing a round object gliding, like a ball, just gliding. And
Mhm.
then I see another one just slightly behind it. So I look and I see these two objects moving, and they're illuminated, has like a nice white goldish glow, bright. Okay, I could see it. These two objects are moving, and they're solid in color. They're not pulsating on and off. It's just solid. So I'm like, all right, this has got to be something explainable. I'm not even thinking UFO. I
Right.
see one and one just slightly behind it, and they're moving in formation, meaning as one moves, the other goes perfectly with it. So
Interesting.
I call down below to the officer on duty and report it. He comes right up, and I'm not thinking anything else. I'm just thinking he's going to tell me, oh, don't worry about it. It's nothing. He
Mhm.
comes up, He's like, give me those binoculars. So he's looking, I'm looking. Next thing I know, a couple more guys come up. We're all looking. Next thing I know, the captain of the boat is up there. Now, this is after midnight. It's like, 1, 2 in the morning out at sea. If you're waking up the captain of the boat, it better
Something's
be
up.
for something serious, right? Exactly. Not like,
Exactly.
hey, we just wanted to wake you up. No, 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 no. So I know at this point something's going on. And they had told me, well, on our radar system, that picks up everything. Okay, no matter
Wow.
what's out there. And they said, Andrew, we don't have anything. There's nothing on the radar. So that's impossible. So I'm like, all right, still not
Right.
thinking UFO, just thinking maybe this is like a military test,
Right.
right? Like the Air
Right.
Force is doing something weird. I don't know. So we're all looking, we're passing the binoculars around, and after about 10 to 15 minutes, these two objects, they start to move towards each other and they come together. Okay. They literally, it's like one's here, the other one goes right behind it. That's what it looked like, right behind, but it was perfectly one object now. It comes
Wow.
together like they're
Yeah.
merging as one, and
Right.
then they just vanish. They don't zip off,
They
no
just
trace, no trail, no
disappear.
sound, nothing, just gone. Like not
And,
even a
and
hole in the
and
sky,
this is
nothing.
visible to the naked eye, or this is through the binoculars? Like you're all
I
like
at this
watching it.
point, I can see it without any
Right.
binoculars.
Okay.
We're all, at first I saw it with binoculars, but then I passed it around and I'm like, oh, I could see this now because it's so bright.
Of course.
This is the dead of the night. It was a clear night. So if you go outside on a normal night to make contact to try to summon a UFO and it's cloudy, it might be difficult, but on a clear night, you'll see like, wow, I
That's
don't
what I'm
need
gonna do on the
binoculars.
next clear night.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so exactly.
Ivana's on a mission. She's on a
Yes.
mission.
Okay. We'll
Th-
talk about how to summon them later. But
oh,
yeah,
it's coming.
I'm
It's
I'm
coming.
into it.
So
Okay. And
this
then
happens, and then right, they merge and then they're gone. And I'm looking next to me talking to the guys I'm working with, like, what was that? And they're
Right.
like, oh my God, I don't know. That's wild, right? And I'm thinking, all right, they're gonna have a big briefing in the morning because it's
Of
2 a.m. So I'm like, they're not gonna pull us together unless it's an immediate security threat. And
course.
the thing was gone, whatever it was, right? I
Did you
don't know what it
feel
was.
any energy from it? Did you feel anything? Or it was just like
So
you still hadn't processed, probably.
at that time, I just remember I personally did not feel threatened.
Right.
Like I have seen things in the ocean when I was in the Coast Guard where I was worried, like
Right.
a
Of
boat or like, oh my
course.
God, like I'm
the
scared. I'm
pirates.
Yeah.
19.
Yeah.
Yeah. The pirates for sure.
Well,
Yeah.
they have real pirates down
Yeah.
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
A
Yeah.
hundred
Cuba. This is
percent.
no
Yeah.
joke. And they will
Yeah.
kill you.
Of
So
course.
I like, I've seen people being taken off of their boats
Oh my
and they've had
God.
weapons, drugs, horrible things, and we've had to burn their boats. That's what we did in the late 90s. Like, I don't
Wow.
know about now, but it was
Right.
old school then.
Old
Okay. And it was
school for
serious.
sure.
And we had an order, like we had by law, we were able to anything that passed by the front or back of our boat and didn't tell us what they were. There's a radio, so if you pass our boat, you got to communicate. Okay, I'm a
Yeah.
civilian going fishing, whatever it is. If you
Of
don't,
course.
by law in 1999,
Can you
we had
shoot?
the right to engage
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
shoot you. No, no
Yeah.
questions asked,
Yeah.
because that you can't do that. That's a threat. So we never did that, thank God. But you could.
Of
And that was
course.
really, that situation after thinking about it, that was pretty serious, whatever was going on, because we didn't identify, we didn't know what it was,
Of
but I
course.
did not feel threatened. I could tell you
Good.
that. I didn't feel threatened. I just felt like very curious. That's what
Of
I could
course.
say. Whereas other people that were there might have been a little scared or intimidated, or I
Hmm.
just didn't. But I
Hmm.
wasn't thinking they're coming to get me or anything. It wasn't
Okay.
like that yet.
It's
It
like my
wasn't like that
husband. He
yet.
has nightmares. He said like he used to say when he was really little, he'd have nightmares. He'd be like, I'd get visitations and I'd feel like they wanted to take me. And I was like, okay.
I've never had that. I
Right,
still have
right,
never had anything like that ever happen. So
right.
after this event, though, the next morning, no briefing, nothing. They never said anything. That is why I'm
Interesting.
sharing this, because if I
Of
got brought
course.
into a room and shook down by the men in black, I would not be talking. Like, I'm not
Right,
stupid. I don't want to
right.
disappear. You know what I
Of
mean? So
course.
that's never happened in my experience. Nothing like that ever. Nothing like that.
Hmm.
So I just saw that. And then not long after, there was a guy that went to Washington to the National Press Club, Dr. Stephen Greer, in May of
Hmm.
2001. And he had all these witnesses that were ex-military who were involved with the UFO reality and covering it up.
Okay. Oh, right,
So
right, right.
that's how the transition from me seeing this, me being curious, right? I see this after, then I come across Dr. Stephen Greer and I find out, oh, he's actually holding retreats where he can show you how to summon these things or make contacts. And I'm like, I'm going to go.
Of
I
course.
want to see this, because this is either BS or
Right.
let's see. And I'll tell
Of
everyone
course.
either way what it is.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
that's where this started to shift after that, but we can get into that too.
Oh my God. Yes, please. Let's get
Yeah,
into
I'm
So
like,
that.
what happens
We're
next?
yeah, yeah.
spoiling. We need to know.
This is the best story I've
Yeah,
heard in
yeah.
a while. Okay,
So
and
I
then
see this, right? I see this in 99, right?
Of
2000.
course.
Right after that, when I get out of the Coast Guard, I find a guy through family that has his own electrical business. So he's like, Andy, I can get you a job. I can get you in the union. So I'm working as an electrician in the union from like, 2001 till 2006. And no UFO contact, like no summoning, nothing, just regular person. Just
Good.
honestly, not like I'm on the mission. I got to find this.
Okay.
Nothing like that. I get
Right.
on the fire department in 2006.
Hmm.
And then around 2010, 2011, I see Dr. Greer's presentation from 2001. So May
right,
2001, Dr. Stephen Greer tells the world UFOs are real. Here's all the proof. May of
Right.
2001, what happens 4 months later? 9/11. And then that
Right.
disappears. And they're like, what UFOs? So that is, I'm not saying it's related to that, but it's interesting the timing.
100%.
Right? So,
Yeah.
not to
hmm
be conspiracy theory,
I
but
believe
like
it.
it's realistic that
Yep.
it happened 4 months later. And then who cares about UFOs when we're under attack, right? Or whatever's
Right. Of
going on.
course. Of
yeah,
So,
course.
deflect
years
completely. Right, right.
exactly. So, 2011 comes and I get the means together to go meet him because I'm like, wait, he's holding retreats. So, I fly out to the desert in California and I spend 8 nights with him in the desert. And I had never done anything like this before. And I'm like, I want to see what this guy's about. I'm gonna study him like
You
everything
sure
I
you
can
didn't
get.
go to Burning Man? I'm just joking.
I would have loved to years ago. Yeah, that would have been amazing. But yeah, yeah, yeah. And I'm out there and I'm with like-minded people from all walks of life, people that are literally into forensics. There's a geneticist, a few other
Hey.
scientists,
Right.
a garbage man, a fire safety director. The person I brought with me was a police officer. So the two of
Hmm.
us together
Hmm.
were pretty much trained observers with our
Of
jobs, cop,
course.
firefighter.
Yep. Yep.
The first night we go out, and anyone listening to this, I get this all the time. People go out and try to do this, and they're out there and they're like, I went out tonight and nothing happened. And I
Of
go,
course.
so did with me the first time I tried it. So
Yeah.
don't worry. Just
Yeah.
go. And as you relax, right, as you
Mhm.
calm down, as you start to quiet the mind,
We're going to the desert now.
then
Of
that can happen. But if you're too jacked up, they
course.
don't want to scare you, or at least the ones I've communicated with don't want to do that. So none of that should be happening. But when you're relaxed, it
Hmm.
will happen. So the first night out there was sitting in a circle, 30 of us was sitting quiet, meditating. I don't see anything personally. I'm just like, I don't see it. I don't know what's going on. And I
Hmm.
remember going back to my hotel room, like, oh my God, I'm ruining it for the group because I'm not meditating every
Oh,
day. I'm not
okay.
spiritual enough.
Right, right,
I'm
right.
thinking it's me. I'm the problem. I'm the problem. I'm so, oh my God. But I remember Dr. Gura saying when you go back to your hotel room, you might have an encounter. If anything happens in your room, just sit quiet,
Mm.
welcome them, and
Hmm.
see what happens. So I'm like,
Hmm.
all right. So I'm back on my hotel room. It's 3 o'clock in the morning. I wake up and I look at the wall, and a green ball of light appears.
Interesting.
Just appears. So I wake up my partner. I'm like, oh, do you see that? And she's like, yeah. I'm like, I'm gonna get up and try to touch it or see what it is. Is it a smoke detector? Is it whatever? I want to figure this out and make sure it's the real thing first, right?
Mhm.
Because it's right at the end of my bed, like
Right,
6 feet away.
right.
So I get up, I go to the wall, and I'm touching it, and now it's not there. And I'm like, oh man, I look all around the room we're in. I jump back into bed. We're looking at the wall. Boom, it reappears, and then it moves a few feet up.
Hmm.
So I'm like, okay, that's not a smoke detector. Like, nothing's
No,
moving up like that.
no, of course
And
not.
we're staying in Borrego Springs in the
Right,
desert. There's
right,
no electricity outside. You know
right.
what I mean? We're in the desert. There's nothing out there. Like people are like, oh, what about a light outside? I'm like, there's no electricity outside. We're in the middle of nowhere. You know what I mean?
Of
And this is
course.
old school. This is 2011.
Oh
I
yeah.
wasn't on Facebook, nothing like
No,
that. You
no
know what I
cell
mean? No,
phones, none of
no. Oh my
that.
God. I didn't even have a cell phone for the trip. I
Right.
didn't have one back in 2011. So
Yeah.
we're sitting there. This thing comes, and from 3 in the morning till sunrise, this green ball of light stayed there. And every 20, 30 seconds, it just powered up or flashed.
Okay.
So I remember with her, I'm like,
Right.
okay, let's just open up. Let's open up our hearts. Let's
Yes.
welcome the craft. I'm not going to move. I don't want to lose it. I don't want it to take off again or whatever. Maybe he got freaked out because I got up or whatever.
Of course.
I'll just stay here. But I felt like there was a giant craft outside. That's just what it felt like. And they
Hmm.
sent like a little probe into the room, and they were just checking us out. That's
Hmm.
just what I how I could interpret it.
Of
So
course.
the sun rises, we go to our group morning breakfast, and Dr. Greer's like, "Did anything happen to anyone last night in their room?" We're like, you know,
Right.
I tell him and the whole group, and then he's like, well, "What did you think? What did it feel like?" And I said, "It felt like there was a giant craft outside, and they sent a probe in." And he goes, "That's how they will do it." And from that moment on, at 10 o'clock in the morning in the daytime, I
Hmm.
started to see with my own eyes and the people I'm with in the broad daylight, I started to see golden orbs appear during the day. And then it led
Okay.
into the night. And
Okay.
15 years later, it has not stopped. But
Okay.
that's how it began.
Have you heightened your awareness as far as like telepathically connecting with them? Like
Oh
being
my God.
able, yeah, I
Yeah,
would
yeah, yeah.
assume so,
So,
right?
So this happens,
Right.
and my grandmother was very influential in my
Hmm.
life, very supportive. As a kid
Hmm.
growing up, we'd watch that
Hmm.
show Unsolved Mysteries. And in 1993, years before this, we're watching like an Afterlife episode on Unsolved. And I look at her and I go, Graham, when you go to heaven one day, can you come back like that and give me a sign? And she goes, of course I will, dear. And
Hmm.
that's it. We never spoke of it again. From 93 till 2011, then my grandmother passes. So
Right.
I'm on the mission, right? I'm on the mission. I got to figure this out. I'm trying to connect the dots. My grandmother passes. I meet Greer, and I'm still thinking maybe there's some connection with the afterlife. There's something going
Of
on.
course.
So I went outside one night and I said, Graham, if you can hear me, give me a sign. And boom, the craft came, a ball of light came and glided. So I'm like, wait, are UFOs connected to our loved ones? Because I'm
Mm,
calling to my grandmother
of
and an
course.
orb or something is coming. So
Mhm.
to me,
Mhm.
I've been doing this for 15 years now. I think there
Mhm.
is definitely a connection. And when I got back home, not long after, I go into a restaurant with my mom where I grew up, was sitting, and a guy comes into the restaurant, comes up to me and my mom and says, "Did someone just pass away in your family recently, like in the last few weeks? And did they have cancer right here on their face?" That
Mm.
is exactly where my grandmother had her skin cancer. And I go,
Interesting. Right.
Yeah."
Yeah.
And he goes,
Yeah.
"And you or your mom, who was born on Easter Sunday?" And my mom was born on Easter Sunday in 1956. So I'm
Hmm.
like,
Hmm.
oh my God, this is the sign, right? Or
Of course.
who's this guy? And he's like, oh, I'm a psychic. I'm doing a reading of the restaurant here. I'm like, keep going. Everything he said was accurate. Keep going, bro, And I'm not wearing any FDNY stuff,
Yeah.
nothing to say I'm
Yeah.
a fireman, nothing like that. I'm just sitting,
Yeah.
listening. Okay, but I'm skeptical, right? I'm still like, maybe somebody paid him. Maybe they sent him in the room to, finagle us and rope me in. So I waited a year, tracked the guy down a year later, and got another reading for an hour. And at the
Mm.
end of the reading, he said, Andrew, you have the gift, right? And I'm like,
Hmm. Hmm.
well, you mean the psychic gift? He goes, yeah. I go, okay, what do I do with that? Tell me, because, what's up,
Of
man?
course.
I didn't sense this guy was lying. I don't know. I just didn't. And he goes, come to my studio this weekend and I could show you how to tap into that. So I
Right.
did. And the first time I went and I sat in a room full of people, about 20 people I never met before that weekend. We meditated for 5 minutes. That's it. And then
Hmm.
he paired me up with a young lady like yourself. He goes, okay,
Hmm.
just tell her what you're seeing. I
Hmm.
looked at her and bang, all of a sudden, I got a tingle down my spine.
Yep.
And all of a sudden, these black and white images started coming in. And I'm saying to the girl, I'm seeing a car going in reverse down a block and it's hitting a pole. And there's a V above this person. Is this person's name Vinny or Vince or something like that? She
Hmm.
goes, that happened to my Uncle Vinny. Exactly.
Wow. Yeah.
And then it just started to grow. However, I'm still doing UFO contact,
Of
right? So I'm like,
course.
are these separate are these separate
That was
worlds?
going to
Because
be my question. How are they
yeah.
related? Yeah.
So I'm asking the psychic, what about UFOs? And he goes, be real careful because a lot of it's nonsense. And a lot of people that are into it, a lot of them you need to be careful are disinfo agents. So just be careful.
Okay.
And I
Okay.
get it. Like, yes.
Yeah,
Oh
well,
my
that's the
God.
same thing too with mediumship, right? Like any type of
100%.
psychic ability, depending on how you operate with it, you can tap
Definitely.
into different dimensions and different voids. Like that's just kind of how it works, right? Especially based on your own insecurities. If you want to like,
Yes.
prove something to someone, it's easy to tap into something that could be really negative, let's say. So, yeah, for sure I
Oh
get
yeah.
that. Yeah.
And that was I'd rather hear that than don't worry, it's all love and light, nothing's
Oh,
gonna happen. Like, you know what I
100%.
mean?
Like
Like,
be
come on,
realistic. Yeah,
be
with the
real,
good comes the
bro.
bad. That's what was
Yes.
said to me years ago. It was like if you're gonna embrace your gifts, you're gonna have to embrace the good and the bad. That's just that's the realistic
It's
way of operating. you know?
Exactly it. There's always good and bad, and that
Of
never
course.
ends. Like I
Of
still
course.
interact with people that whatever, we just don't click or whatever. But all
Yes.
right, great. And he said to me, he goes, Andrew, if I woke up every day and I was having UFOs come to me or whatever, that'd be a different story. He goes, but I don't have that story. I go, well, I do. Like so now,
100%.
now it's happening,
Yeah.
bro. So
Yeah.
and
So
there's
what
no
do I do
backing
with
away
both
from
these
it.
aspects now? Like
Yes.
you have awakened my psychic abilities, which is
Yes.
a great bridge because then obviously tapping into UFOs, it goes back to the telepathic connection, right?
Yes.
Which that then there's more to that concept of like, I guess, life after death and whatever else that looks like. So
Yes.
continue.
And also for me, I'm like, wait, maybe all of these things, near-death experiences, out-of-body
Mhm.
experience, psychic phenomena happening, all these things, whatever you want to call them,
Yes.
maybe they are all, it's like a bicycle wheel and the different spokes on the wheel. These are just different modalities. And they
100%.
all bring you back to the same thing though. So
Right.
for me, I'm like, wow, some people are just all into the psychic stuff or all into the UFO stuff. But when I started sitting with my contact group, so when I got back to New York after meeting Dr. Greer, I met a group near Albany, New York, that we would meet once a month, and at this lady's house. Oh my God, on a river in the backyard, we would
Mm.
make contact every month. We would go, and as I was doing that, I started getting messages for people in the circle. So I was like, is it all right if I share anything with you guys? Like, is it okay? I don't want to,
Of course.
mix it to if it's not okay, if some people don't
Yep.
want to hear it. And people are like, yeah, of course, Andrew, come on, tell
Yeah.
us.
Who
Oh my
doesn't want to
God.
hear a message?
Yeah,
Everybody wants to hear a
yeah.
message.
In that circle, cool. But you always ask. I've always learned that.
I'm
You
I'm the
have
Yeah.
same way. I
etiquette.
don't like to violate boundaries. It's
No,
very important to maintain the boundaries for sure.
you learn like anything. You learn over the
Yeah.
years proper etiquette and psychic ambushing. Unless it's like
Oh,
my
it's
mom, I'm like,
awful.
I just tell
Yeah.
my mom whatever. But besides that, like, hey, because I
Yeah.
love you. I would tell you I love you. But if I don't know you, no, I don't say it. I don't care what it is. I
Yeah.
can't because if you're telling someone something about their mom or grandma and they might go, I hated that person. They took advantage of me.
Right.
They were
Mm.
awful. And then you
Right.
might mess them. So you learn from this stuff.
Right.
So, like I said, I had a very strict psychic teacher who that's just his thing. And
Hmm.
then I would still do my UFO thing in my group. I'm getting messages, right? I'm connecting the two. But each time I call out to my grandmother, the craft still appear. And
Interesting.
while
Yeah.
this is going on, I do an interview, and this is around 2016. I'm doing my first ever YouTube interview with a guy named Michael Harrell, and he had a lovely show called Love Lessons of the Heart, something like that. I have the copy on my YouTube page. The first ever interview I do, I sit down. I'm still a firefighter, right? I'm there. I'm sitting. I'm talking, and he's like, "Dude, turn your camera around." I'm like, "Why?" He goes, "You're turning blue." I go,
Right.
"What?" He goes, and I turn it around. He goes, "Walk out of the room and come back. There may be something wrong with the computer. I don't know." So I walk in, I come back, he goes, okay, it's still doing that. He goes, I think you're tapping into a 4D or 5D or higher reality.
Yeah.
He goes, just
Consciousness.
keep
Yeah.
going, bro. And I'm like I did not have anyone that explained this to me prior, but I'm like, okay, I kind of understand what that means. And I
Hmm.
just, as I kept talking about the phenomena and healings and all these things I experience, I kept turning blue on and
Hmm.
off. And this happened on several occasions. I went out and bought 3 new laptops. It happened
Right.
every
Because you're
time.
just like,
Yeah, I'm
what
like,
the
I'm
F's
going to
going
Costco
on
every
here?
week.
You know,
Thank God I
nothing
had a return.
surprises me because I'm like, I get it. I understand it.
Yeah, I'm going to Costco every week with the Apple computer. Like, I need another one. They're like, "What's wrong?" I'm like, "I'm turning blue." Forget it. Just give me another one. You have a free refund policy, right? Just give me a new one. I want another one though. I'm like, I need to, I got to figure this out. So let me get a Microsoft. So I'm changing it, and it's still happening, different brands. So,
Right. It's the
you
way
know,
you channel.
and then, of course, the lovely internet, right? Someone posted the video and people said, "Oh, he's faking it. He's messing with the electronics." I said, "Dude, I'm a firefighter. I
Right.
can't operate a computer. You know what I mean? I can put a
Welcome
fire
to
out, but
my life. She's the tech
what?
girl. I can't do any of this.
Yeah, I
Everything
have
goes
no idea what I'm
haywire if I
doing."
touch it.
I'm like, okay, so thank God a lady named Mary Rodwell, they
Mhm.
call her like the ET grandma, okay? She's the
Oh,
ET
okay.
grandma of all the hybrid kids in Australia and all over the world. She's amazing. So she contacted me. I didn't know her. She goes, Andrew, I want to talk to you. So she did a regression on me and we recorded it. And she
Mm.
goes, Andrew, during the regression, you were turning blue. Okay, that's impossible, right? That's impossible. So something's going on. I go, what do I do with this though? Because this sounds nuts. She goes, you need to find a geneticist because I
Okay.
think you're tapping into your dormant DNA or something like
Yep.
that that I
Yep.
can't explain to you. So,
Yep.
Mike, how do I find a geneticist? I'm a firefighter. If I go into a doctor's office in New York and explain this, they're going to call my job and put me in a psych ward. Like, seriously,
Right.
100%.
this
Yeah,
sounds
yeah, I get
nuts.
it. Yeah, I know it does.
So
Yeah.
with trying to figure this out, I'm going to work, doing my thing, and then on my days off, trying to make this work without completely telling everyone in the world, because oh my God, if this gets out at this point, this is going to look really wrong to people that aren't into this. You know what I mean? They're
100%.
not going to be
Yeah.
able to comprehend this. I'm working with 12-minute work who are not into this at all. You know what I mean? Who I love and care about, but this is wacky and next level and could be taken as this guy is high or, whatever they're going to
Hmm.
say or, whatever's going on. So I'm like, all right, what do I do? Who do I find now? I'm like, wait, actually, I know a geneticist, Dr. Gary Nolan, through somebody. He works
Okay.
at Stanford University, has his own laboratory. I reach out to him, Gary, help me. I don't know what's going on, but here's this video. He responds right back and he goes, how did you do this? This is not
Mm.
fake. And I'm like,
Hmm.
no, no, yeah. He goes, I know, I believe you. Let's talk. We zoomed right away. We're talking, and he goes, I've met a lot of people all over the world. He goes, I'm also an experiencer. It's in my family. So I'm like, thank God, because it's hard to
Right.
talk with
It's
people,
scary. It's
oh my
scary if you
God.
don't know what to do with that and it's happening spontaneously and
Oh
you're
my
thinking to
God.
yourself, like, now I need to go to a specialist to figure this out. Like, what is going on with
Yeah.
me? Yeah, 100%.
And he asked me, he goes, has this happened in your family to anyone like that you
Mhm.
know of? And I'm like, well, I mean, I've seen crafts with my brother. Yeah, like, yeah, that's known. I've brought him to CE5 events and thinking about it, I'm like, wait, actually, yeah, some people in my family have had things happen. And he goes, okay, he goes, basically in our brain, there's another brain. We call it the antenna. But to just keep it real simple, he's written papers on this. Basically in the brain, this little antenna is activated through near-death
Mhm.
experiences, out-of-body experience, psychic phenomena,
Mhm.
UFO contact, and you could send and receive with this antenna. So the UFOs, the afterlife, the phenomena,
Yep.
they're aware of the ones who have this
Mhm.
antenna and the ones that are actively sending this out. And there's people that are having a high level of contact like yourself. He goes, I
Yes.
think that we could be turning on some junk DNA. And I'm like,
Okay.
that's interesting. That's
And
very
yeah,
interesting.
well, yeah, it
And
is. I mean, we all have a little bit of a hybrid, I think it within us, whether we like it or not, it's within our DNA. And then I do believe that we can activate it if we want. And if it's
100%.
needed, and especially if we are being called to, because I feel like it's a calling to sometimes, like with everything that's going on in the world right now, specifically, too, like we're being activated like more and more and more people are being
Yeah.
activated now. I think 2012 was also a big activation period time as
Hmm.
well. And yeah, a lot of people's DNA, like I feel like mine got activated
Hmm.
just last year. Like in all fairness though, I've been connected and channeling for years and doing a lot of like integrative work and healing trauma and all of that. I work specifically with the inner child and do like I've got a lot of the shaman history aspect of things. And so, but the Pleiadians come in hot. Like they definitely want to work with like the Christ consciousness and source consciousness and all that other stuff. So, do you work directly with the Octurians? Is that what you're saying when you channel that type of
Yeah. So
DNA?
when I got the regression of Mary Rodwell, I said to her, I
Mm-hmm.
go, there's this woman that's coming through, and I said her name. I go,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm describing her, what she looks like, how tall she is. I said she's
Mm-hmm.
blue. She has like gold earrings, and I'm just seeing some gold in her. I'm describing her. I go, and she's saying to me that she's my mother, okay, from a
Mm.
past life, and I had
Okay.
drowned in water, and she was she couldn't save me, and she was my mom from a past life, and she's still with me. She's blue, and she's saying that she's just trying to communicate with me here in this life. So as this is going on, we're filming, and behind me I have a camera. So after I look at the footage, and as I was saying that, there is a blue being outlined behind me that I have a photo
Mm-hmm.
of.
Mm-hmm.
And after the reading, I call my mom, who's not into this, like not this
At all.
level, okay, not this deep,
Like
not this deep.
whatever, do what you want to do.
Yeah, so she goes, "What'd you do today, Andrew?" I'm like, "Yeah, I got a regression done." She's like, "What's that?" And I just basically said, "Well, that's where you like communicate with some things that have happened in the past life." She goes, "Yeah, it's really interesting. You told me that." She goes, "Andrew, when you were about 3, 4 years old, you looked at me one day and you said, 'Mom, I drowned in the water. I died once. I
Wow.
drowned in the water. I went up to heaven with Jesus, and now I'm here, and you're my new mom.'" And I
Talk
go, "Wait, wait,
about
when did I say this?" She goes, "When you were like 3, 4 years old." And I go, you never told me this. She goes, well, I didn't know what to make of it at that time. You just said it. We weren't going to church or we weren't reading Bibles or anything. She goes, you just said it. I just left it alone. And I'm like, well, have
Didn't
you ever
you
seen a
recently?
UFO?
Yeah. Yeah.
Have you ever seen
Go ahead.
what
Go
that?
ahead. Sorry. No, no, I was
And I
just
was
saying.
just saying,
I love this.
Go ahead.
Go
uh,
ahead. Say it.
and I go, have you also seen any UFOs or anything? This, blah,
Yeah.
blah, blah, genetics, blah. And she's like, I was like, I'm just curious. And she's like, yeah, in 1974, me, your aunt, and your uncle saw a craft during the day. I'm like, wait, 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 what?
Oh,
You never
You
told me
never
wow.
shared
this.
this
She
with you.
You
never,
never
Wow.
told me
like,
this.
talk about trauma.
So I'm going around prior to this, meeting people, talking to them. Has this happened before with anyone else in your family? No,
And she's
no.
just,
They say this hasn't happened, blah, blah,
oh
blah. And
my
now I'm
goodness.
like, well, I'm sorry, I have to correct that because no, now I know. My mom saw one when she
Oh
was like
my
17 years
goodness.
old in the broad daylight. It flew over the house broad daylight. Her, my aunt, and uncle hopped in a Jeep. They drove across the railroad station in Floral Park. We grew up down to Floral Park Burroughs Grammar School. And they
Yeah.
said they saw the thing during the day, hovered over a power plant. They all got out, looked at it. It stayed there for a few minutes. They saw a cop car coming. The thing zipped off. Cop
Hmm.
came, got out of the car, and they told the guy, he goes, that's just like a test experiment with the weather. Don't worry about it. And back in the
Interesting.
70s,
Of
you probably
course,
wouldn't
you
have told
don't
anyone
worry
anything.
about it. You just kind of move on with your life and your experience.
Stranger Things. Yeah.
But I
Oh
know
my,
Okay.
now,
right.
now
Of
I
Yeah.
know,
course.
okay, now we know, because when I meet people and I read them, I say, go talk to your family. Oh, they've never seen anything. I said, go talk to them again. Because
Hmm.
if you're seeing things and you're communicating, I'm telling you, I see it. It's in your family line, and they will tell you eventually. Just
Right.
it'll happen. I've had it
Right.
happen to me, and then these things come
And
out.
do you see it on people? Like if they have it in their family lineage?
Yeah, yeah. This so with me personally, I'll see different colors. Like people talk about auras. So
Mm-hmm.
for me, like lighter, just personally, like lighter colors. If I'm seeing like pink, purple, for example,
Hmm.
me, it's contactee. If it's a darker, like a black or a real dark blue, I don't mean their skin, but just like a haze
Hmm.
around them.
The aura, right, right.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. For me, it's just a little block there where even if you remove the block, then they can tap in. I think
Hmm.
anyone can do it. It's just not for everyone. And if you've had
Agreed. Yeah.
something bad or negative, or you've been taken by the black ops people or whatever they do, and they do that weird stuff.
Right.
Oh
Yep.
my God. I tell you that, enough people have gone to Mary Rodwell that have had bad experiences, and then they'll come to me. And then after they go, oh my God, that's all that was is that nonsense. But
Right.
they do interfere. There's a human aspect that
Right.
is
Mhm.
beyond military that interferes with genuine contactees to
Yep.
try to confuse us.
So we
It's
were we
crazy.
were in Greece 2 years ago, and my little niece, she fell and she hit her little head, and we went to the emergency up in the mountains because my dad comes from a very small town outside of Sparta, and it was we were rushing my niece to get her little stitches, and my husband and I were outside, like it was past midnight probably at this point, at clear skies or whatever, and he saw these lights forming a line, and then they would show up, they would show up, it'd form a line again, and then it would be one, and then it would break up again, and he stopped and he kept staring at it. And he's like, I think that's UFOs. And I'm like, probably. And he was like, so we were just kind of sitting there staring at it. Now, I don't know if it was contact or anything like that, but it was very interesting because it felt like a pattern was being made and then they would vanish, come back, and then the pattern was being made again. And
Hmm.
then that lasted maybe three to 5 minutes and then gone. They completely vanished.
Yep, yep, yep.
So we were both Marco and I, and like, I don't want to, my husband, it's funny because I'm all about all of this stuff. And he's just like, yeah, whatever, you know? But here, I guess I feel like he actually did. We both saw that. And that would have
Mhm.
been like our first ever type of experience. Interesting now that I'm thinking about it. Yeah.
So,
Sounds like
so
a contact.
how do we get in contact then?
Oh, let me just yeah, yeah. So I just wanted to add about the Arcturians and healing because this is huge.
Yes,
So
please.
Yes, yes,
Yes.
yes, please.
this is gigantic. In July of 2018, an article was written about me in the New York Post. It says
Hmm.
FDNY firefighter communicates with UFOs and blah blah blah, and he heals people with cancer. Now, I've never healed anyone with cancer, but let me tell you
Right.
what I have done.
Right.
I will be
Right.
very clear. I learned qigong,
Okay.
which
Hmm.
is healing energy, right? All of that
100%. Yes.
stuff.
Yep.
So people talk about different races or whatever. So I'm up at my friend's house doing a CE5, my CE5 group. One night I'm meditating. and I see this purple light, these purple balls drop down from the ceiling, come into my chest one after another. This is right after I was going through a horrible time in my life personally. So I
Hmm.
felt physically like I was getting healed. I literally could see these purple balls of light, like Tic Tacs, go into my chest, and I felt like a warm blanket rubbing, like, oh my God, I just felt so good. And then I saw them coming out. And from that day, that was in 2012, that happened with the lights. Every time I meditate, I see these purple lights. So
Okay.
I asked my Qigong teacher, I said, I'm seeing when I do Qigong this purple energy around me. She goes, you could put that into people and heal them. And I go,
Hmm.
okay,
All
let me
right.
try. So I met a Qigong master. People who look this up, his name is Ming Tong Gu. He came from China. He's in New Mexico. He came to New York for a week-long workshop. I met the guy. I never met him before. I trained with him, was sitting and having sushi after, and he didn't speak much English, or at least not to me. All he said to me, he looked at me and he goes, my teacher Ellen introduced me, and I shook his hand and he looked at me. He goes, "You are blessed, my son. You're working with the angels."
Hmm.
And
Right.
then Ellen, I took this purple energy. She goes, "Next time you see it, take it, okay? Put it in your hand like a ball of energy and put it
Right.
into somebody who's got a sore shoulder or
Right.
not feeling good or
Right.
who's sick." So we would do that in Qigong class. We were in
Okay.
Qigong class with people that had stage 3, stage
Hmm.
4 cancer. There was
Hmm.
someone who was a quadriplegic who's a Qigong teacher now walking.
Hmm.
True story. You can look this stuff up. There's stories out there that
Wow.
blow your mind. And I saw this stuff and I was part of this. So did I personally heal them? What I could tell you is I have taken this energy, this chi energy, and put it into people that have come to me for sessions, online, in person. In the firehouse, I've done this to guys who
Right.
had PTSD, injuries, put this ball of light to them, and they told me they felt better after. So I don't care what you call it. All I know is the people I did this with that had had cancer, they're all still alive today.
Wow. Wow.
So, and if they weren't, believe me, you'd see a video on YouTube and that guy's lying about it, whatever crap is out.
Right,
I'm telling
right,
you,
right.
no, this is
Yeah,
serious.
we have to come to terms that energy does exist all around us, and we have the ability to tap into this type of healing, especially if you're not in a state of resistance. You can really
Yes.
allow a lot in, and when you're coming from a place of like just not an ego, right? Like not from like a place of like I can heal you and I can make you better. And it's more
Yeah.
just like I'm working with this energy and this consciousness and I just want to pass this feeling on to you or this consciousness onto you and do what you want with it. Then your body will integrate that on that level when it's ready to do that, you know? And I think like that is part of the healing modalities that all of us can have and all of us can work with to that degree. It's very interesting. I don't necessarily, I'm like the opposite. I don't necessarily like touching people's auric fields in that way, but I do with words and I do with integration and I do with inner child work and all of that kind of fun stuff for me. And then I can see it sit in their auric field, and when they're ready to fully integrate it, what starts to change within their own energy. It's really cool. So I get your level. It's really fascinating to see like how that all applies. And then when you work with the do you work with the Octurians when you do that, or is it just whatever kind of you
So
tap
when
into?
so it's interesting when people come to me, they have different energies and guides around them. So
Yes,
I like to
100%. Yes.
say we meet in the middle.
Yes,
So this is
yes,
what I have to
yes.
offer.
Same,
We're not
same,
going to do everything. What do
same.
you have? What's around you? And then
Yeah,
let's meet in the middle. And if you're
constantly.
willing to meet me in the middle, this can happen. If you want to be
Yes.
saved, I can't save anything.
No, no,
Like
no, you can't.
I've tried.
Free
I've
will, it's
tried
free
with
will at
people.
the end
Oh
of the
my
day.
God.
Yeah, it's free will. People have to understand that they have free will too, and you can't intervene to that degree.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I think extraterrestrial beings would be intervening all the time, trying to make massive changes. But they also understand that we have our own collective consciousness that we operate with, and they don't necessarily want to impede. I mean, they're watching our vibrations. In my opinion, I think that they're watching our vibrations and our consciousness consistently, and they're slowly trying to influence the individuals that are open to it so that we can then create a like a virus of change. But again, we can't just come at people with like save me, or it doesn't work like that. Unfortunately, you have to also do the work too. I think, in my opinion, you have to put in the time and the energy as well.
The for me, the I always tell people, you're the portal, okay? You're the
Mm.
most powerful
Yeah.
tarot card in the deck because you got to, you got to do it no matter what's around you, what's going on. But if you got that, great. We'll meet in the middle. And
Hmm.
I think that Arcturians, Pleiadians, there's so many different,
Yeah.
faces out there and races
Yeah.
out there.
Yeah.
And I try to just, I had one incredible healer I met over the years. Now she would do hands-on healing. She'd
Hmm.
be in a room doing Reiki. Someone would come in, not tell them anything that was wrong with them. They just come into her. She
Right.
said ETs would tell her where in their body needed to heal. She'd put
Right.
their hand above them, and she had people with sciatica, all sorts of nerve damage. Oh my God, I've never seen anything like that in my life. This person was very special. For me,
Hmm.
I don't do that all the time. It's very
Hmm.
taxing, very
It
draining,
is. It
and
is hard. It is
oh
hard.
my
For
God. And
sure. Totally.
I've had family tell me, I'm good, don't do anything. And you're like, oh my God, I love them. I don't want to see them suffer. I have to intervene. But I've
Oh
learned
yeah.
I do not anymore. I'm just like, they
I,
know if they want to find me, I got you. But
yeah.
I do not,
I had
hey,
that.
I'll do that. No, I don't want to do that because also too,
At the beginning when I first started off this process and I was awakened to finally accepting all these parts of me, right? It was like, oh my God, this is so cool. Like, let me help you and let me help you and let me help you. And don't
yeah,
worry. And I could see patterns and themes and cycles and all these things. And then it would just like the person, I was like, oh no, you can't do that. That's it. You're taking it on for yourself. And now you're making yourself sick. And why are you making yourself sick when this person's just going to keep choosing the same behavior over and over and over again?
yes.
And that's their lesson to learn. And that took a long time to kind of understand. I'm glad I went through a lot of the lessons that I did because, like, it teaches you so much about what your abilities can and cannot do too, right? And
Oh
I
yeah.
enjoyed the process for me. And I don't know if this is something that you obviously maybe have gone through as well. It's like integrating it slowly, like an ability shows up and then taking your time to master the ability. And then another one shows up and then there's a mastery of that aspect. So there's layers to whatever the first initial concept of your abilities were. And like, I like that organic type of process because I started off just working with angels and guides and then moving into like mediumship. And now I'm like, oh, yeah, no, I am a shaman. And now I'm working with the Pleiadians. And like, there's all this like great, like fundamental work, which I think is really important so that our nervous systems, your energy doesn't like, I self, what's the word that I'm looking for? Like burn out pretty much. Your nervous system doesn't burn out because it can't,
Right.
right? Like
Hmm.
you're taking yourself from a third dimensional way of operating and you're moving up the vibrational scale. Your energy has to meet that and they have to meet you too. So there's a lot there that people don't understand. So to make contact, the point of my conversation is she wants to make contact.
Yeah, we're getting
I
there.
want to know
We're right there.
if
I
people
just
want to
want it
do
to
that.
be
Yeah.
safe, organic process.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and it's just important though because it all like leads, you know what I mean? It's not just boom, run out, you know
Oh,
what I
no,
mean?
no, no.
Like there's
I'm not
steps.
trying to jump onto the craft. Don't worry.
Yeah, 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 yeah. That's so good.
Like
And
just if someone is open to making
I think
contact,
a lot of people are
sure.
open. A
what
lot
So
of
would you
people.
recommend?
I had a friend who was in Egypt not long ago, and she was with a group of people, and they said, "Oh, we want to make contact right now. Like we're there, like we're trying to do. What do you on the spot?" I said, "Okay, real simple. Just you're with a group of people that are all open to it. If you're not, don't do it with anyone. I
Mm,
Mhm.
make most of my contact alone.
right.
That's just me personally, or one or two people that I know they know exactly where we're at and it's all business, you know what I mean? It's serious because if you're with 20 people and messing around and drinking wine and good luck.
Yeah,
I don't think it's
no.
going to happen. But anyway,
Yeah.
so go out there. I just sit quiet. You don't need it. Person, you don't need any tones, no lasers, no bells. No, you don't need any of that. Just sit and in your mind, right? You're sitting like this in your mind, like show where you are, wherever you're physically located. See that in your mind, right? You're showing where you are. Project that out, right? Just project that out. You could. Some people speak it. Hi, right now, right? I'm sitting here in Melbourne, Australia, in my backyard. Blah 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 blah. On this block, literally send that out if you want it vocalize it.
Mhm.
Great. Or you could
Hmm.
just show it visually, and then when you project that out, you'll visually connect with a race of beings. So if you want to keep it real simple and you're not familiar with race, what they are, who they are, just say, okay, there's an extraterrestrial race and I see blue skin, right? Just that keep it that simple. You don't have to say Dr.
Yep.
Stern, but just I see blue skin. If the blue skin rate, if you're out there, I just see the blue skin. Okay, if you see me, right, and we're making contact to prove that you're picking up on what I'm sending out, the confirmation coming back is the light in the sky,
Yeah.
right? The craft. So bang, when the craft appears, bang, then you go, oh my God, something is communicating. They're responding
Yep.
to the communication.
Yep.
That's how I know it's not just something random. Yes,
Yep.
you could put out a satellite chart, star chart. All that stuff is great to look and eliminate what it might be. But what I see, okay, where I live, I go outside of my backyard right on the beach. They are low to the ground.
Yep.
There's nothing there, and then it materializes, gets
Yep.
really bright, comes back down and literally dissipates. It's gone. There's
Mhm.
no red and green navigation
Mhm.
lights that you have to fly something. So that
Right.
doesn't make sense. And it has, I always say when I'm, communicating, show me something odd, unique, different that I can't mix up
I
with,
was going to ask, do
oh,
you have
that's a
like a bit of an
plane.
intention behind it so that way you can know
Sure.
you're making contact with them? Another thing that I wanted to ask, like if people are making contact, or like let's say that they desire to make the contact, are these healers or people that are ready to bring that energy forward in some way, some form? Like, is there a purpose for it besides it just being like, I'm just making contact? For you, obviously, you made contact. It's led you when you followed the signs. You followed to find the teachers and the mentors. You followed that path. You were open to it. Some people, like my husband, he's made contact, I think 3 or 4 times now, and but he's a police officer, so he serves in a lot of ways. So I feel like maybe that in its own way kind of helps him maybe navigate things from a different. I always say he's very lucky when it comes to like certain things like that. So I don't know, like, could that be, or is it just them coming in and just saying, I'm here, and if you want my support and you want my connection, I'm
Yeah, I
here.
think there's a great book, Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind,
Okay.
and it's a real simple read. I always tell people, what do I read? Where do I start? Start with that
Mm-hmm.
because the state of being, the mindset in that book, having that raw, childlike green mind, that's
Yes.
all I do. And every time I do it, I go to that state, and my connection is when I reach out, they see that. They go, wow, we see that raw organic state, and it's easy for them to come, and they don't have to worry about whatever else is going on whenever I'm making contact. It's like I'm literally going back to that child state. Why? That's
Right.
what was told to me when I learned this. Dr.
Right.
Greer said
Okay.
this. So I followed it and I'm like, wow, he goes, we have so many filters in life.
See,
Oh, it's
link to
this, it's
the
that,
always
it's nonsense,
linked
blah,
to
blah, blah,
the
blah, blah,
inner
blah.
child. I always say, always link to the inner
Trauma,
child.
drama.
See, there
Oh
we
my
go.
God. And once we let go of that or release or however it works for you,
Mhm.
or even just for the hour of making contact, you want to bring it back after, go ahead. Okay, but for
Right.
the
Right.
hour, can you be open to that? Or I like to say, if I'm with a friend, one of my friends is a reverend. He came to
Mhm.
my house. We saw 20 objects in an hour.
Wow.
20. Oh, we've done it a million times now. He's amazing.
Oh my
And
goodness.
yeah, I met him here in Australia. He came to my house. He's a reverend. And he's like, dude, I know something's going on. And he's like, I'm open. I go, that's all it requires. And then one after the other, blah, 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 blah. So just that openness, no problem. And if it doesn't happen the first night or second night, just sit
Mhm.
there. Now, if you're saying I can't project out, I'm just a mess, very
Mhm.
easily. There's a video I share all the time on YouTube, the
Mhm.
Monroe Institute, who I've done work with. Okay, they have many great meditations. The one I use, it's called the Gateway Voyage Open Exercise.
Mhm.
Just hit record on YouTube, and for 40 minutes, just sit there and
Mhm.
follow along. You don't even just follow along with what they're doing. That when I play that, oh my, you'll hear when I post my videos online. There's like a
I've
binaural
seen some
beat.
of your videos. Yeah, it's crazy.
It's
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
I just play that in the background. I don't say anything. I just play that and that binaural beat syncing up
Yes.
my
Mhm.
brain
Yes.
with them.
Yes.
They just come through. That's the easiest way if you don't want
And
to.
and is it
It,
always visual or do they sometimes come through and you just feel their
I feel
presence?
more
yeah.
so for me, not to interrupt, I want to answer my perspective. I think when I make contact with extraterrestrials, it's very linked, like it's like a telepathic um instant connection. Like when I'm like, okay, like I'll tap in and out. Like I'm very, I don't know how else to describe that for me, but it feels like it's not like I see it. It's like a download of a consciousness and awareness that's coming in. Not
Is it like
necessarily,
physical?
it's not really in me. It just is not even beside me. It's kind of attached to my aura, but mostly, like you said, like the back of my head at times. Like I find like the back of my head, and then immediately it's like, words, actions, like things that I have to do when I'm working one-on-one. When I'm not, it's kind of I'm not tapped into that
Mhm.
unless like I want to be tapped into it. But it was funny when I did, when we did the October event last
Mhm.
October, I
Mhm.
did like a room of like 50 people, like a reading. And I was like, okay, I can't promise you guys that I'm going to be able to get to all of you. No, no. They were like, no, you're on, go. And I was like, okay, this energy's on,
Yeah,
go.
yeah,
It
yeah.
feels it's very interesting. So I don't know, for you, is it more visual or is it combination?
So years ago, when I go outside, it was cloudy out. I'm like, I can't see any, you know, like, oh my God, we'd get together with our group. We still showed up. It'd be so cloudy outside. So we'd go inside and then we'd see little balls of light around us in the room. And some nights, I'm like, early on, I'm like, I'm not seeing anything, but the feeling,
Hmm.
oh yeah. And then I could
Hmm.
feel something touching me,
Right,
poking my
right,
side. And
right.
I'm like, now how do I know what that is? Right? There's a
Right.
device called a magnetometer. You could download it on Dr. Greer's CE5 app. It's on your iPhone. You can play it. It's called a magnetometer. When you have that app open and the craft are around, the ETs are around, this device will start speaking to you. They will talk
Interesting.
to you through this. How do I know this?
Ooh, ooh.
Dr. Greer had the physical device, a magnetometer. You could buy one online, a real one. He
Yeah.
had the
Mhm.
old school device in 2011 when I met him, and they would literally talking through this thing. We're out in the desert, in the middle of nowhere. There's nothing around. And he's like, all right, there's a craft around. We feel it. You'd see the outline of a cloud sometimes. And he's like,
Hmm.
that's a craft. Sometimes they look like a cloud. And then we would talk to them and say, okay, if this cloud is a craft, give us a sign back, meaning yes, which is two beeps on the magnetometer. And the device will go beep, beep. And then sometimes
Right.
literally a voice, like an electronic, I can't even, it's, you got to hear it to describe it, like
Wow.
electronic,
You have that on your
like
YouTube
that.
page? Have you downloaded
Um,
that?
if you just go on magnetometer, you'll see it on there. If you go on a
Okay.
C5 app, get it yourself, just use it. And this device, how you know, like, oh, how are they around? It's cloudy, I don't see anything. This magnetometer will be pinned to 100. You'll be
Mhm.
like, they're here. I know they're here. I could feel it. But what's another way to know? Look at the device. And
Right.
then as well, you'll hear at times they will be speaking, literally communicating. Now, this sounds nuts, right? This sounds crazy to someone that's listening that's never done this. But I believe when we die, we become non-physical, right? It
Mhm.
doesn't happen anymore.
Yep.
The ETs, the
Yep.
same with them. They're in different dimensions. So picture
Yes.
this, we're in this physical shell and we're part spirit, half spiritual, half physical. Then the physical
Mhm.
side dies, we become spiritual. They have the ability because they're in this non-physical form
Mhm.
to come back in and out. That's why they come in and out, phase in and out so fast, because
Yep.
they're in this non-physical sense.
Yep.
Okay. The ones I've seen, if they take physical form, like if I'm looking at one like this, it's for a few seconds. Why? They've told me the toxins in the atmosphere
They
would kill
can't.
them.
Yes, you're correct. That I agree with. Yeah, they can't.
Mhm.
They can't physically form themselves here. However, I have seen. We actually had someone on our podcast that communicates with extraterrestrial beings and stuff, but she didn't realize because she had a near-death experience. So a part of her crossed over, a part of her didn't. And so there was a fork in her consciousness when I was looking at her, and this extraterrestrial now forked into that area and now has taken in that form of consciousness that's coming in and connecting her to whatever else is happening, what she's connecting with, and what the soul purpose and contract is. So it's very
Hmm.
interesting because they can't physically form, but they can fork into a body if they wanted to, consciousness wise, and also come in telepathically and channel and all that other stuff. So it's really interesting. Yeah. Well,
And
Andrew, I could talk to you for hours, hours. Honestly, this was so amazing. I know Ivana's still dissecting everything, absorbing
No,
all of this
I'm gonna
information
go
in.
make contact. Don't worry. I just gotta listen to it again. Get the app. Get the meditation music.
Yes.
that's it.
Thank you so much for
Yeah.
coming on our podcast. I'm so glad that I found you on the Hammer podcast. I know you're wearing his t-shirt as well,
Yeah.
representing a big fan for his podcast. So I was so happy that you came onto our podcast and we had this great conversation. We're gonna have everybody. The links are gonna be there. So I know some of my clients actually reached out and even did a reading with
Yes.
you. Yes, they
Yes. Thank
have.
you. Thank you. They
Yes,
did. Yeah.
yes.
Awesome.
They
Lovely.
loved the experience as well. So reach out, do a reading, ask about, UFOs. He's very knowledgeable, and all of that information will be linked at the bottom. Thank you again, Andrew. I appreciate it so much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.